Hi, I'm Thea. Everyone said I was crazy when I opened the first restaurant in a desolate Miami warehouse district. Now the whole world knows that as Wynwood. Then I did it again in Alapata. Ever wonder how a place goes from not to hot? Join me for a behind-the-scenes look at what really goes into igniting a neighborhood. We'll talk with the risk takers, the pioneers, the restaurateurs, the real sparks of neighborhood ignition. This is Thea's Neighborhood Magic. Welcome to Thea's Neighborhood Magic. In this episode, I speak with Ivette Naranjo, an incredible entrepreneur, about opening the first bar in Wynwood. In 2001, Ivette bought a warehouse in Wynwood for her carpet business. As the financial crisis of 2008 loomed, she pivoted and turned part of her warehouse into the first bar lounge in Wynwood. My guest today is someone I've been impressed by since I first knew her name. She is an entrepreneur extraordinaire and the first liquor license and bar owner in Wynwood. Ivette Naranjo, welcome. Thank you so much for spending this time with me.
Thank you, Thea. Thank you for the invitation. Out
of nowhere, you end up buying the first full liquor license in Wynwood. Tell us how you ended up doing that.
Well, actually, like in 2008, there was the crash, and I wanted to see what else I can do. I had 15,000 square feet. I didn't need it all for flooring.
So financial crash, real estate crash, right. You were supplying industrial complexes with carpeting, and you were worried that the business wouldn't.
Exactly. And I wanted to do something. And so I went to the city. I have a friend of mine that worked there, and I was going to see what I can do with the mainly with the empty lot that I had. And once I sat there, I was reading the Biscayne Times, and the article came out that the Wynwood Art District had been approved, and you had gone through a change, and at that change, it included 23rd Street, and that there was 25 liquor license. So at that point, I said, this is what I want. I want to get a liquor license. And
never
that's
done it before,
started.
Never worked in a bar,
never.
Knew nothing about the business.
Never, nothing.
Okay, so my side of it was, we had just been through this pretty complex, multi-year process of rezoning Wynwood from a warehouse district into a cafe district. I hear somebody has already bought the first liquor license. It wasn't us. It was a woman on 23rd Street who owned a carpet business. And I remember just thinking, cool. I need to meet her. So that was my first hearing of you, and I just thought that was amazing. So you're sitting there, at your kitchen table or your office or whatever, and you're thinking, wow, what I really need in my life is a messy, wild, unpredictable organism, a bar.
A bar. Never did I think how much work it's involved. And but I think I've always done things like that. I've always okay, this is what I want, and then I figure out how it's done, And I think that's what's gotten me everywhere. Like, for example, with the flooring, the government. I went and there was a bid coming out for the airport. Mind you, I've never done the airport. I sit down, I go ahead and get the bid. The maintenance guy, I'll never forget. I imagine I was young. I looked even younger. And he looked at me and he goes, "Are you sure you can handle this?" I said, "Of course I can handle this." And I went home, told my mom, because the company's my mom and I told my mom, and I said, "I have no idea how we're going to do it, but we have to do it." Never done a job in there. So I think this is the pattern that I follow. And so I went and said, I want a liquor license, but I had no clue.
You'll figure out the path to get
Yes.
there. I think a lot of entrepreneurs would probably say they do that. Mm-hmm. And I wish I was smart enough to coin a term for the opposite of analysis paralysis, right?
Right.
None of this kind of sitting around, what if? It's just, I want it, I'll figure it out to get there.
Exactly.
So, multi-headed monster building a bar in a new neighborhood, not a new neighborhood, a desolate warehouse district.
Yes.
Let's talk about repurposing a warehouse into a bar. That is one learning curve.
Yes.
Expensive.
Yes. I went to the bank, and I'll never forget, the bank told me, "You want to build a cafeteria in Overtown." I said, first of all, it's not a cafeteria. It's called Cafeina. And second of all, it's not Overtown. It's called Wynwood. They had no
everything
idea.
to them was
Yeah, they had no
Overtown.
idea what Wynwood was. So that was the first part. I said, "Oh Lord." Then we started with the construction, and I got to tell you, the city, since I can imagine you guys had done all the work.
Yep.
The city was very good to me. They really tried to help me because there's a lot of steps involved.
It was a remarkable moment in the city, and that's been a common thread, how they really empowered entrepreneurs and made things much easier and were as helpful as they could possibly be.
Yes,
right?
Yes, because now, if I were to build that bar now, forget it.
Everyone's been saying that.
No, forget it.
Okay.
I mean, any little change right now is. But they helped me. They helped me through the whole process.
What was the biggest surprise to you or expense? Grease trap, pipes, right?
Everything was a surprise.
ADA.
I had no idea the ADA. You start finding out. I mean, anything. You can't even build a little
Seating,
stage because you can't get the stage.
nothing.
I
Can't
have
do
a
anything.
mezzanine.
Yes.
No, you can't use the mezzanine. Because you need to get an elevator. You need to a lift. So
a long learning curve.
Yes.
And a painful one.
Yes.
Right? It's
yes,
very painful.
Yes.
So I've opened a few bars in my time, and in theory, you're balancing margins and quality and service and price.
Yes.
But the reality is you're riding a wild horse that you're trying to hold onto the
Yes.
reins to at 2 a.m.
Yes.
And it all kind of, comes undone. That must have been very shocking.
It was, I'm used to government, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Then I would go change and then become, a hostess at this place, greeting people and bringing them in. And then you have to, unfortunately, it's a lot of cash. And, there's in this business, what I learned is that for some reason, like I go do my nails, right? I would never go and say, hey, can you do my nails for free today? They cost $15-20. But for some reason, people think that a bar, the bartender to give them a free drink. And the bartenders gives them the free drinks, they get the tip, right? So at this point, you got to be watching this. And I wasn't used to this because I did government contracts.
And the dollars and cents, the hospitality industry is all dollars and cents, at very small increments of money come in and very small increments keep bleeding out constantly through bartenders, through liquor, through losing product, through timing, whatever. So your whole business model was very different.
Yes.
One of the things out of so many things I admire about you, I admire so much that you maintained several hats throughout this whole process. We were both kind of team no sleep, right?
Yes.
I think we probably put in 16 hours or 18 hours between all the things that we were doing at the same time. You maintained your carpet business during the day. You ran the bar at night. And you were a real estate owner. So I think that's incredible that you managed to wear all those hats. How do you switch gears so easily from one thing to another?
I think the transition between, like I tell you, in the morning to the evening, it was a totally different person. Here you see one in a hard hat, tennis shoes, and then at night, you had to get dressed, to. So it was kind of like two different personalities and and not only that, but we had the art gallery, and then the kitchen. So dealing with a chef, with artists, these are different personalities, all these people. And
different requirements.
Yes. So dealing with it, I think it was a rough one.
I first heard the word entrepreneur when I was about 22, and Tony, who became my father-in-law later on, had said in conversation, in passing, something to me, oh yeah, of course, Thea, it's because we're entrepreneurs. And I remember being so thrilled by this, thinking, wow, I didn't even know what that was, but that's what I am. I identify as an entrepreneur. And you're really the definition of that. What age did you understand that? Because most people go off to college, they follow a kind of more normal path or whatever. When did you realize you were an entrepreneur?
I don't think, I think not too long ago, to tell you the truth, because to me it's just survival.
When I just told you?
What I do. Yeah, basically. Because I swear to God, everywhere, you fill out what, and they say, I always put CEO. And, but at the age of 15, I was in Tampa, and I worked for this company, telephone soliciting for carpet cleaning. And I didn't like Tampa because it was a small town, and I was raised in Chicago. So I liked the city. So my aunt lived over here, and that's how we came to Miami, my mom and I. So both of us worked, and we got $1,500, and we put Kendall carpet cleanings. And that was it. And I was 16. That was in... So that was my first business, and I would go to high school, and then at night I had girls from 5 to 9 telephone soliciting for carpet cleaning, and this is where it all started. And then I did the flooring.
You didn't know the name for it,
no.
Being an entrepreneur. You just
no. This is survival. I got this business, and this makes money here, and this here, and then I got to go here. Let me go into government. Forget about the residential. I need to go government. Forget the cleaning. Let's install the stuff. And just moving with the times,
So I think that if Darwin did a timeline of the warehouse district, I always think that you are this kind of the highly evolved hybrid species who's just about to turn, because you were still signing checks for Cafeina that were part of the carpet business, like this one.
Oh my God, what is that?
So you signed the Wynwood Arts District Association, the membership for Cafeina Cafe Lounge, with a check from Affordable Carpet and Maintenance, Inc. And I have the copy of the check here. And so this is why I think that you're kind of the evolutionary hybrid.
Oh my God, that is too
funny? And I knew when I saw it that I thought, this is it. This is the exact moment, because you were still in the carpet industry.
Yes.
You hadn't even formed Cafeina yet.
Yes.
So I kept that, and I thought it was so funny. So
I think that's what has kept me balanced, from the flooring to they both helped each other, believe it or not. Like when Zika hit, those 2 months.
Because you had a garden business, and so like David was saying about the Wynwood Yard, it hit Wynwood. Yeah. That was the ground zero.
So that, or like right now, during the pandemic, they closed from March to October. So through all these times, I think, the flooring, they've balanced. They're very opposite, and different people, different everything.
But extremely smart business, maintaining the real estate, maintaining the carpet, improving the real estate with an igniting cafe. I know you didn't like all the terminology, you were ignite, but that's what you did. You put that building on the map because a restaurant or bar ignites like nothing else. So you raised your profile as a real estate stakeholder.
Yes.
I want to ask you about the worst times at Cafeina. Because in a bar, your regular customers are typically alcoholics. That's the reality. Your good business is from people who drink a lot.
Yeah.
And they're not known for their kind of model citizen behavior.
Yes.
And you pile on top of that a completely desolate landscape where anything could happen. So you have first-time bar owner, a lot of heavy drinking, and no one can hear you scream. I mean, no one can imagine that now, but...
Yeah, I got to tell you that since we had, I think, the gallery, and we had a very nice crowd. We were like 70% women, 30% men.
I'm going to ask you about that.
So it kept a nice balance. It was a nice atmosphere. I think the way I made it, it made them,
civilized.
Yes. So, because then later on, now I know what you're talking about, then it was more, I think when more of the other establishments came into the neighborhood that were more... younger,
populated. You're choosing your words so carefully. So I want to ask you what you think, because you brought it up and it's been on my mind a lot, about Wynwood's high concentration of women-owned businesses. First full liquor license and bar, you. First restaurant, me. First retail store, Paloma. Remember Plant the Future, like this beautiful store?
Yes, yes.
And dozens of other women in that desolate, gray, dark warehouse district. Did you ever think about that? Like why that happened? I have to believe that you kind of leading the charge in your area, me leading the charge in my area, Bernice, Mira, Paloma, there was something in the air.
Yes, definitely, because it was, it was dark. It was a little, that type. I remember we would put in the corner of 23rd and Northwest 2nd, we had a sign, on the wood post of the FPL, we had a wood sign that said Cafeina, and it had an arrow with, that tape that
like a fluorescent
lights up with the lights. And then we had another one in the corner. We want to make sure everybody make it right, because if you went forward,
you went into an abyss.
Yes.
And I think that's very hard for people today to imagine how it was really like operating on the moon.
Exactly, and to get the women, like you're saying, there, it's
But they were there.
They were there.
It was funny. I think that made it so much nicer as well.
Yes,
we had this tremendous community.
Yes,
and so I think that what you've done has been remarkable. And I have the greatest respect for you and admiration, and I'm so excited to see what else you do. But if you could encourage anybody else out there, even to pivot, take a chance, what would you say?
Oh, definitely. You have to take risk. I mean, it's the only way, you're going to get anywhere. And I still do that. I still, let me see what I do here. Let me see. And things, they fall into place. I think, when they get too complicated is where you have to, look and say, okay, let me take this path. But you got to keep, keep doing it. You got to be aware, because there's signs everywhere. Then there's a sign that'll tell you you're on the right track, and there's another one and go, well, listen, go the other way.
So you're very instinctual, and you're listening constantly and watching.
Yes.
So I think David Lombardi had said, never believe your own bullshit. You have to keep listening, or you can persuade yourself to follow on a path that may not be the right one.
Exactly.
Sometimes you have to accept defeat.
Absolutely. That's where you learn. Absolutely, yes.
I admire you so much. For me, really, you're one of the greatest entrepreneurs that I've ever been able to be around directly. And I'm really excited to see you.
That means a lot coming from you. I know.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
This episode was recorded at Wynwood Podcasting and produced by my friend, Adrian Olivares. This episode is dedicated to Adrian's loving memory.